Hello everybody, sorry a little bit late again. Up until about sort of 20 minutes ago we were in a power cut, so I wasn't sure whether we were going to be able to go live this afternoon at all. So if there's a warning there, if we do end up getting another power cut, we'll record this separately and we'll do another take for you. So yeah, sorry we're a little bit late. As I said, I'm running around, I'm still getting stuff ready, so it's a little bit sort of on the hoof, as it were. So today's project, it's the pen turning part 3. That's been driven by your questions, really. Someone asked if we could do one of the fountain pens that has a clip that's notched into the main barrel. So we've got one of those to do, one of the artisan fountain pens. And also a couple of questions about difficult materials to turn. So for that reason, we've got the coffee bean polyester blank. And could we do one of the chunkier table pens, you know, like the Empress? So we're going to do one of those as well. So I've done all the prep for you, luckily. So that's all done, it's all drilled, I've glued everything. I do want to go over a few of the gluing processes, especially with the coffee bean pen as well. So we're going to go through that as we get to them. Both Charlie and Finley are busy this afternoon. So I got the very, very glamorous hostess, Vicky. She's my assistant this afternoon. Vicky, obviously, Mrs. Way. And so she's going to be moving the camera and asking your questions when you feel you need to ask them. Now, just a little bit about next week. I'll try and remember it again at the end of this video. Next week is all about chuck centres and tools. So I would like you to start thinking about questions on particular chuck jaws, wood turning centres, particular tools. I'm going to highlight on the Thursday the crown tools, the M42 steel, the sets, and also the Axminster craft range as well. I think it's important to get both ends of the spectrum, the scale. So we're going to do that on the Thursday, but chucks and centres all on the Tuesday. Okay, so we're gonna get stuck in, all right, Vic? Mm-hmm. So yeah, come on over to the lathe here. We'll just have a look at the pens we've done so far, and Vic is just going to pan down to those pens. Those are the pens we've done so far. In the very beginning, we've done the nice easy ones. And then we went to slightly trickier ones. So where do we start? We started with a wooden one, didn't we? Can't remember where we started now. We started, I believe it was those, no, it was those two, that's it. 2 wooden ones. This is the old Sierra, or Venetian that's now called, and the Americano. A little bit of Cocobolo on the Americano. That's my favourite so far, I have to say. Then we've done the same 2 pens, but in a different material. We've done the polyester, which is just a really sort of glittery sort of finish on this one, and then we've done a piece of acrylic, that red acrylic. Okay, so now we're going to change pens altogether. We're going to go to the bigger ones, the more intricate. So let's get rid of those for the moment. I'll get my lights going. So Vicky's going to tell me if the light is too much. Very hot, muggy day today, so the legs are out again. You're accustomed to the legs by now. So let's have a look at the first blanks we're going to use. So pen blanks number 1, coffee bean. Okay, there we go. Let me just have a look at that camera a second, Vic. Just want to get everybody square on. There we are when we start looking on the lathe. There we go. Thank you. Coffee beans, real coffee beans as well, not imitation, but real coffee beans. There we are. The workshop's already smelling of coffee, which is okay if you like coffee, I suppose. I do, so that's okay. Now the good thing with these, once this pen's made, you hold it in your hand. The warmth that comes from your hands makes the smell of the coffee beans come up. So it's a really nice project. Now I've drilled these out, as you can see, and I've put the tubes in, as I have the other pen kit. And Lily's putting up all the parts, the bushings, the drill bits and everything for these, associated with these pens, by the way. What I've done is I've drilled them out, and then I've soaked the inside of that hole with super glue, thin super glue. So those coffee beans near the center absorb that super glue and harden them up. Once that dries, My favourite glue for gluing in these tubes is epoxy resin. I find that a very, very strong glue. We've had a few comments though. Some people are using super glue to glue them in. Some people are using polyurethane glue. Absolutely, a polyurethane glue, I know, is a very good one. That's the type of expandable glue that you've seen. Gorilla Glue, for instance, that's a polyurethane glue. But yeah, they work really well. But my personal favourite is the epoxy.
Question, Carl?
Yep.
It's just gone.
All right. So what I'll do, poor old Vicky's standing on tiptoes here. I'm just going to bring the camera down a little bit so she can see what's happening. Okay, so there we are. How's that? All right. And then the questions will come down. Now I'm going to ask one from Wayne. So, what mops and grades of mops do you use for your buffing wheel, and which waxes? So I'm using, for buffing wheels, I'm using G. So both G on the stitch mops and on the loose leaf, and it's a triple E for dark timbers and a buff for pale ones. And then on a loose leaf mop, you can add carnauba wax as well. All right, Wayne. Right then, so bushings. We know what bushings do. This pen kit is a fairly simple one in terms of how you turn it, but it's got a notched clip that we have to notch in. I'll do that separately later. Let's get it set up on the pen mandrel. You know what the pen mandrel is all about. We've looked at it a couple of times now. Just shout questions out, Vic. Just.
David said, "Don't you have a box for Vicky to stand on?"
She's got her own soapbox indoors, David. It's quite nice because it's the only chance I get to speak without being interrupted.
Does the epoxy cover the colour of the tubes in the thinnish blanks?
No. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't found anything that does properly. I mean, you can paint them and all that sort of stuff, but it tends to still stripe through. I tend to stick the paler acrylics, polyesters. I tend to stick with the thicker kits to be fair, and the opaque ones we can use with the thinner kits. That's how I've worked it. I could never quite cover it up otherwise. I'm sure there are people that do, and if you have any suggestions, put them up on here so people can see. Just glue on the inside of that. If you do get a bit of glue on the inside, don't worry too much. It will push out the minute we add some pressure, as long as it's just in there. And we're going to have another one here. It's really, really warm in here today. Okay, so nice and simple. Look, we know that there's no grain in this, obviously, but the coffee beans may run through, but I've still got that barcode there, so we know that we're in the right position. That one goes on. Get rid of my bit of wood. So I think we're okay. In terms of knowing what to do so far. I've shown you this the past two demos. If you haven't seen those demos, basically this is a pen mandrel, and we're putting pressure directly on our bits of, in this case, polyester with our coffee beans. And what I'm going to do when I get close, I'm going to rough this out first. And when I get close, I'm going to start using that super glue again. I'm not going to wait for it to set. I'm going to use some accelerator to help me as well. So that should get us out of any problems with that those coffee beans being soft, those coffee beans and breaking out. Okay, so how's that looking, Vic? Everybody see what I'm doing? Has that bleached everything out now?
No, that's good.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Lay it down to 0, turn the machine on. We want a really, really quick speed here, so up over 2,000, I'm running there at 2,400. Safety specs are going on. I'm going to use a very small bowl gouge initially, little 6mm bowl gouge. And we're just going to very lightly take off the waste. Just sharpen that one a minute, it's a little bit on the blunt side. just a very, very quick hand sharpen there. I got a lovely smell of coffee.
Ricky asked, any ideas how I stop the item going white every time I use an accelerator?
There isn't a way. No, there isn't a way. If it's very thick, it will go white. Yeah, your best bet, if you want to use it to sort of fill gaps and things like that, would be to leave it, let it dry naturally. It'd be alright on this because it's only a surface layer pretty much, so I'll turn most of it away. No, it's down to the chemical reaction that's going on. Now I am taking my time. I'm not going too mad. You do have to take a little bit of care on this. Go on, Vic.
Question from Frank. Have you used HPDE for pens? I use it a lot and struggle to find a glue to get the tubes to stick well enough while turning. Wondering if epoxy might be the answer.
What was the, have we used?
HPDE for pens.
No. That's a new one on me. No.
That's from Frank.
No, Frank, no. There, let's stop the lathe and show you what we've got so far. Some beautiful, lovely. These really, really nice pen blanks. These. So we're going to carry on a little bit more, and then I'm going to start adding some glue. Yep.
Frank's back again. He says, sorry, HDPE recycled bottle caps?
Oh no, I haven't.
No.
Epoxy casting resin would be your best bet there. I would think really you want to get that, put that in a mould in a pressure pot as well to make sure all the air is out of the voids. If you're casting it from scratch, of course, but if you're buying it as preset blanks, then yeah, epoxy's going to pretty much be the best adhesive.
Question from Stu. Hi, what make ball chisel are you using?
What, mate?
Ball chisel.
Ball gouge. This is Henry Taylor, this one. Henry Taylor 1/4 inch or 6mm gouge. There we are, that's all I'm going to do with the bowl gouge for a minute. Yeah, so Henry Taylor, pretty much my tools up here, Henry Taylor and Crown. I've got a couple of Robert Soulbys there. What else have I got? A couple of homemades, but pretty much those three. Okay, so a little bit of super glue. Yes, Vic, go.
Another question from somebody. Tony. I am a newbie on here and new to turning. Is there a particular turning kit you would recommend? I have recently purchased the 305 lathe with the SK100 chuck.
Yeah, I'm perfect set for that, Tony, for a couple of reasons really. So I would say go for the craft set. So that's a Crown set that we've worked with Crown to make. So it's the craft set. Lily, could you put up the craft 6-piece turning tool set, please? Now that set's fantastic because it's set for the price of the machine. So it's set for that craft range, just under £100, 99 for the 6 tools. It has everything: your skew chisel, your roughing gouge, your bowl gouge, your spindle gouge, your parting tool, and round nose scraper. And the fact that they've got a shorter handle specifically means that they're great for the benchtop lathe, because those big handles don't get in the way, so they're ideal. I would certainly go for those. I'm going to talk about those next Thursday, so stay tuned and watch that one. Alright, Vic? Right, we're going to carry on now with this skew. You may have seen there that I didn't just lather the super glue on. I actually want to get this off the pen mandrel when I finish. Okay, so I'll just very carefully put it on. Don't super glue your finger to it either. Right, so now we'll start just tidying up with the skew. Remember what those bushings do. We're going to turn down to the bushings. Just taking extra care when you get to the edges.
Question from Glyn, do you ever use super glue as a hard finish?
I haven't. Now I know lots of people do. I've never used it. Apparently really, really good. That's super glue with linseed oil, isn't it, Glenn, I think? So nice and careful.
And Paul said, I once super glued my son's toy robot to my leg.
Toy what?
Toy robot. Bill asked, can you put too much pressure on the mandrel and buckle it, just like the single-ended one?
It's difficult to do that with this type, only because we're putting pressure on the actual pen kit rather than the mandrel. Because it's hollow, the mandrel goes all the way through until this line centre hits the pen kit itself, or the bushings. So it's, for that reason, it's very difficult to buckle the mandrel itself. Hence the reason I use this when I've gone to these over the others now. So I'm just checking the lip. Yes.
Question from Charles. Colin, is that a crown skew that you are using?
It's the Crown Colwin Way signature skew. You knew that anyway, didn't you? But yeah, you'll see me use them all the time because they are the best skew in the world ever. That's official, in my opinion. I think we're about there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. See what we got. We'll stop the lathe. We'll give it a bit of a sand. We'll give it a bit of a polish. Pretty, isn't it? Right. Let's sand that up. So we'll start fairly coarse, but it's not like timber. We're going to start at 150. No, I haven't turned the lathe speed down just yet. We're going to keep it whizzing for the moment. There we are. Now go down to 240. And I'm not hanging around with this. I want to move around, otherwise things get a little bit warm. .240. There we are. Now we'll move to 400. I'm going to do a little bit of wet sanding on these as well. We got a real treat the next one. I've got some of that double dyed burl.
A question from Bill, does the sandpaper damage the bushings?
Well, the bushings are a worrying part, but I'll be honest, you can do 500 of these pens and the bushings will be fine. You know, I'm not deliberately turning or sanding them away, but they do last a long time. So eventually they are just regular steel. It's not a, when I say regular steel, it's not like a hardened steel or anything like that. But because, oh, that's lovely, I like that. We're going to go with a little bit of wet sanding, then we're going to put a little bit of polish on these. So keep your wet sanding pads in a nice plastic tub, then you can just add water. When you're ready, I'm not going to go too fine either on these. Lay speed down a little bit now, otherwise you're going to get covered in water. Let's start there. It's about 400, that grit.
Glenn asks, are they micro mesh pads?
These are, yeah, these are the micro mesh pads. Lily, do you want to put the micro mesh pads up as well, please? The little pads. Little pen sanding pads. I'm going to go up to about 3,000 for this.
Stu Campbell says, have you ever tried polishing off with toothpaste? I have with good results.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't, but understand that toothpaste is burnishing cream. It's exactly what we're using. I'm using that, which is the acrylic equivalent of toothpaste. But that's exactly what toothpaste is. It's an abrasive paste, just like Brasso. That old, I say old. I only say old because I remember my mum polishing things with it when I was a kid. But Brasso is the same sort of thing. T-cut's another one, a little bit coarser T-cut, but same sort of thing. And this is our specific acrylic polish. There we are, that's us done there. Might give it a little bit more of a buff. Look at that, beautiful.
Charles Knight asks, does wetting affect the coffee bean?
Does
wetting it affect the coffee bean?
No, it's dried very, very quickly. That's pretty much dry now. Now I'm gonna bring everything over to you, so Vicky doesn't have to move too much. But look at that, that's lovely.
That's great.
And when you, like I say, when you hold that as a pen, when it warms up in the hand, the smell does tend to come out. It's really, really nice. Lovely as gifts, these things. Let's, instead of putting that together now and breaking down the mandrel, let me go straight to the other pen and then we'll do all the assembly later. This pen needs a little notch in it because we're going to have a clip that sinks into the barrel, so we'll show you how to do that in a second as well. So let's take that off. I'm quite excited about the next kit. It's one of the bigger ones. Big desk pen. So we're going to change our bushings, and I'll talk a bit about that that pen itself. That one off. That one off. There we are. So there's that pen, or coffee bean pen blanks. You know, those pen blanks that apparently are impossible to turn. There they are, all nicely turned. Just saying. All right, we'll put them together in a moment. We'll get on with the next one. So those bushings are going to go to one side. And I'm going to put them back, so they come like this, okay?
Hold it up a bit.
Up a bit, sorry. So they come like this in this sort of bag. I put them back in those bags, okay? Write the number of the pen that they're paired with. Otherwise, you'll just have bags and bags of bushings, or a box full of bushings and you won't know which is which. So keep them where you know which pen does what. So here we go. This double dyed burl, this timber here, I mean, it's beautiful. It's got lovely colours in it. It's stabilised. I suspect it's stabilised with an epoxy called cactus juice, that sort of thing. But there's wonderful colours running through this. This is going to be a fairly chunky pen. I'll show you all the bits in the kit in a minute. But you can see by the size of that barrel there that this is a big boy. Okay, so it's a big one. So they come in a box like this. This isn't a cheap kit. Okay, it's got a nice little set of instructions, as all the others do. And then these are the bits to make it up. We'll go over all of those bits in a minute. Let's get on and turn it to start with. So we need to set the bushings up.
David writes, are bushings specific to individual pens?
They are. I mean, some are shared, but I mean, there's about 3 or 4 different pens that go with these. Slimlines, you'll be able to use the bushings that come with your mandrel. The one I just used there, that's for the fountain pen, the artisan fountain pens. You'll probably find 2 or 3 that fit those. So yeah, you'll get your favourite pens, and then you'll keep those bushings sort of to suit them. So to answer your question, yes, specific to that pen. Make sure I get it around the right way. There we go. Yes, Vic.
Daryl Hodder is watching.
Daryl Hodder. Daryl Hodder, my cousin Daryl. Family's even watching. Look. Excellent. Well, I better say hello to Daryl because it was his birthday yesterday. There we are. So tighten that up, and now you know what we're doing. We've got to turn down the bushings. So big end, small end, nib, cap. So let's turn down. All right. So different size drill bits. They're all listed in the catalogue on websites. So I've used those 2 drill bits for those, different size, so I can't get the bushings mixed up. Turn at a nice fast speed, but I'm going to start with the lathes at a low speed. Nice and quick. So I'm over 2000. Just going to have a quick swig of coffee. Here we are. Small bowl gouge again.
Bill asks, is this an American kit and do we need imperial drill bits?
This one, yeah, I've done that math myself. They're the imperial. I've got imperial bits there. We sell them specifically for those pens. Some metric and imperial equivalents are so close that it's fine, but with these, it's the imperial. Now, I can't remember what the sizes are, but have a look on the web. You'll find out on the website. So I'm just roughing down, doing the same as I did with the other one really. Let's just drop the tool rest to get that gouge on point. And then we'll do the same, we'll get the skew involved. So just using the gouge as a roughing gouge and then as a skew before we get the true skew to do its job. Okay, let's just stop the lathe while I get the skews, just so you can see the colours involved with that piece. Pretty stuff, this. Really nice.
Pretty, isn't it?
It's a real treat to turn. Is this another one for you, Vic? Now that's not me. That timber is turning that well. It's a beautiful material to turn. Well, I wanted to pick up a question from Brian. Brian asked last session about my skews and are they available or are any stockists in Canada. We haven't found or got any stockists in Canada at the moment, Brian, but just order them from Axminster. You'll find we can get stuff to you in really quick time. And all the postage and everything's worked out for you at checkout, so you'll see exactly how much postage you'll need to pay. But you'll be surprised how quickly we can get stuff over to you. I'd love to come and deliver it personally, if I'm honest, but unable at the moment. There we are. That's all finished, nicely skewed, and now we can start sanding. Look at that! I mean, amazing figuring in here.
George asks, what is the wood?
It's Buckeye burl, so it's the double dyed. It's gone through a lot of processes. This one, it's double dyed, so we've got two colours, and then it's stabilised with a very thin resin, usually things like cactus juice. But it's a Buckeye burl, so without stabilising it, it's quite a soft, very light timber, very difficult to get a good finish on. As soon as it's stabilised, just like corn cobs, as soon as it's stabilised, it goes a really nice texture. Okay, 150 grit. I think Lily's going to be putting the part numbers, yeah, for that up. And this is just one colour. There's many colours with this. If you want to do that extra special gift, that's the sort of stuff. Yes, Vic?
Paul asks, how much extra is it for Colwin to deliver by hand? And of course his wife as well.
Of course. Of course. I've never been to a baseball game. Take me to a baseball game. Right, let's have a quick look at this. Now I'm going to use a different finish on this. I think we're going to go, to start with, I'm going to use a friction polish, only because of our time scale. I would probably use a melamine lacquer on that, if I'm honest, if no one was watching, because I've got time then. The melamine lacquer can set. It's not an instant thing with melamine. It'll probably take a good 20 minutes for it to go off. But just so I can get you a good shine on there, let's use our friction polish. This is the chestnut friction polish, this one. Okay, I'm going to put the polish on first, and then we'll buff it in. Make sure it's not too wet when we turn the machine on. Again, don't want a face full. Start off with the wet section of tissue, and then a dry section to get your finish up. Give it another coat. Again, same thing. Now, it's quite important when you do this, don't hang around too long with that wet section, otherwise it will disintegrate and it'll end up sticking to the project. Now that can be a bit of an issue because the friction polish has got a heavy amount of shellac in there. It's quite a sticky, almost glue-like substance, and it'd be really difficult to take that tissue off, sometimes to the point where you have to sand it away. So don't, like I say, don't cause the problem. Just short time with the wet section, then you can go to your dry. Okay, I think we're about ready to start assembling things. That's a really, really pretty bit of timber there. Let's get a board down.
And
Yes.
Brian asked, how much would that cost, that blank?
I don't know. Ooh. Lily, can you get... Is the listing up for the double-dyed blanks? Top of my head, I want to say about £7, but that's a guess. The single-dyed ones, so just a single colour, I think are a lot less. Writing off of it. So we're going to get our assembly press. Let me grab that catalogue a minute and I'll help with an answer there. See if I got that. Just bear with me guys, 2 seconds off. See if I can get an answer for you. So stabilised maple burl, £7.45. Double dyed, £10.45. So it's the single one that was £7.45 and double dyed is £10.45. There's 5 different colours in the double dyed. And then the stabilised blue is the one we used right at the beginning. There's a funny colour blue, almost greeny colour, but that was the one that's £7.45, and these are the double dyed. So save them for your best pen, for the person that you love the most. That's the one you want to make them for. Right, let's take this off. We're going to assemble this one first. Right, I'm going to pop those back on there for the minute, and we'll just get rid of that mandrel. And we're going to adjust the camera. 2 seconds.
Martin asks, where did you get your pen press from, please?
Axminster tools. Lily behind the scenes is there frantically putting all these numbers in for you guys, so it's not just me and Family Way that's doing this. There's loads of people behind the scenes that help us out, and Lily is the one. Lily and Tom sort us out with part numbers and things like that. So Lily's about to put the assembly press up. Well, it's an assembly and disassembly press. So if you make a mistake, I often do, then this helps you disassemble, that's the word, the kits for you. It's quite a complex piece of engineering, but it works really, really well. Okay, so I probably count the amount of these I've made in my lifetime on one hand. So bear with me, I'm going to just take it nice and slowly. I don't want to show you the disassembly function of the kit. So we're going to get them all out for you. Now I'm not going to worry about the putting the refills in and stuff like that. It's all time we don't need to waste, but you've got 2 options in there. Look, you've got your little filler and you've got your ink cartridge. We won't worry about putting those in for the moment. We get rid of all our rubbish. Right, now Colwin, concentrate, do this nice and methodically, otherwise you'll get it wrong. So there's my first bit. That's going to be my nib. Am I in the right place?
No.
I'm
Come
going to
down a
come
bit.
to you.
Yeah.
So my first bit to press in is going to be the bit that we can screw the nib onto. There we go, that's that piece. Next, we're going to add the cap. There we are. Now I'm going to screw on the actual nib. Let's take our cap away. Okay, so at the moment that's the pen, obviously the bit you're right with, so we need to do the cap next. Now don't forget I haven't put in the refill. I'm just going to do this by hand. This is the actual bit that holds the pen together when the or holds the cap on, so that can be adjusted. I'm going to put it there because it's a little bit fiddly to get to once it's all been put together. So then I can add this over. We're going to push the whole thing together. Need to come up a little closer now. Go to there to start with. There we are. And then lastly, we're going to pop that one in. 2 seconds, I've done that wrong. Hang on, let me get that out. You know things are going wrong when you do stuff off camera. Right, 2 seconds guys, let me just... A little bit of a panic on then, thinking I was going to just disassemble something. There we are. So now I can put the bottom bit in. Which is really nice and tight. That's looking good. So there's our cap. Now that bit that I put in prematurely, that needs to go in there, and I need to screw that up. But without my adjusting tool, I can't really do that. And then what we have then is that lovely little thread with our little Buckeye burl pen blank. That's a lovely pen, and that's a really nicely weighted piece as well. Beautiful. That's a nice gift, that one. I like that one. That might be Vicky's. There we are. Right, let's do the other one. Let's do the other one. Where were we with that one? This one we've got to do slightly differently. We get all the bits out. This is the bit where, on this pen, our cap, if you look at this area here, is that all right? Up a little bit. You can see this is flush with the cap here. On the pen that I'm about to put together, this little clip actually sinks into the pen kit a little bit, so we've got to create a little notch, which is fairly easy. Depends what kit you guys have. I mean, you can go as simple as get a little flat file. I'm going to show you a little flat file in a moment. Or you can go as complex as to use the tool that I'm going to use, a little multi-tool, or a little rotary tool, that sort of thing. Again, same thing, I won't bother putting the refill in for the moment. It's a similar assembly though to the one we've just done. Because it's a fountain pen, we've got the cap and the actual pen itself. So one side is going to fit onto there, okay, and the other side is going to fit onto there, our lid. The other side is going to be the cap. So it's quite a straightforward piece of assembly. But before we do anything, what I'd like to do is create my little notch. I'm just checking to make sure there's no breaks or anything like that in there that I can blemish out. No. Now, I'm very lucky. I've got a nice bit of kit over here that I'm going to use. This is my John Wood rotary tool. Okay, and I'm just going to create a little notch with that one. Turn it up a little bit. There's your other option. Take a little bit of time. Even a file. I've got safety glasses on here, guys, so I'm not just doing it without glasses.
I can't actually see that one.
Do you want to bring it closer now? Right, I'm going to try that. We'll just have a little look. A little bit wider. There we are, that's fitting in there nicely now. So we can go ahead and join all that together. We'll do that so you can see. So let's bring that nice and close. Make sure you're over your groove. So that's what we're trying to get. Vic, just direct me on my...
Just come in the middle a bit more.
Okay. So you can see we've actually got that clip now sunk in to the coffee bean blank. Alright, so that's nice. So now these two guys here just go either side. One. Two. Obviously you're going to put your refill in as well. And then again we've got that lovely little coffee bean pen. Let's hold them both up together so you can see both fountain pens. Those, they both work in a similar sort of way where they've got the separate lid. This was a screw on. Alright, but really attractive little pens, those. So a couple of things there I want you to pick up. You know, we got the double dye. This is it's still an epoxy resin submerged timber, so it's a little bit harder. But then in our polyester here, don't forget the soft patches from those coffee beans. So super glue as you're turning. Be careful of the super glue if it's not dry spraying up at you. You must be really careful. Make sure it's dry before you turn the lathe on, because you do not want to get this stuff on you or in your face. So make sure that's nice and dry. But just a little bit of time in setup. So drill the hole, then add a little bit of glue to the inside of the hole before you glue the tube in. So let that first initial super glue dry, then if it needs to be reamed out, ream it out, and then use your epoxy or your polyurethane to glue up. There we are. I think that's the last in our pen series now. We've gone through quite a few of those pens, but I think you agree, all of those together, there's a nice little selection. Let me get the others so we can have a look at them all together. We've gone up in difficulty, price, lovely job there, and the other ones. But there, that's in probably about 2.5 hours. We've managed to knock out a few really nice little gifts there. Grand. Okay, Vic, could you pan back? We'll just have a quick catch up as to what we're doing next week. Absolutely drenched with sweat. It's that warm. So thank you ever so much for being patient. A couple of little near disasters happened there. You heard me scurry away for a set of pliers. That's live videos for you. Doesn't always go right, does it? But there, next week's a good one. Think about your questions. Chucks, chuck jaws, centres, types of centres, what they're used for, if you have any queries, that sort of thing. And then on Thursday we're going to be looking at the turning tools themselves. So beginner set and a more advanced set. Okay, both ends of the spectrum. So again, just get questions coming in, because each session needs your questions for us to base them on. Okay, otherwise it's just me waffling on. You might not know what I'm talking about. So thank you very, very much again, guys. Until next, we're on Thursday again, aren't we? So until next week, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy your turning. I hope your projects turn out amazing. I'll see you on Tuesday, same time, same place, my workshop, 4 o'clock. I've been Colwin Way. Thank you very, very much. And Vicky.